Hello, hello, hello. Sorry for the little bit of a delay. Um, Had to go do a couple of things before I left the job. And thank you for everybody who is tuned in. I see we have Liz in there in the chat. I see we have Josh in the chat. Thank you all for joining me. Um, before I get into these other couple of subjects which I put into the title, um, I wanted to bring up that they have officially passed Juneteenth as a national holiday. Uh, I should be more excited about that, being that most of my life it was a holiday which I always celebrated, which nobody around me who was not of my same complexion had a clue what the hell it was. And that continued on through my military time. Most people didn't know that Juneteenth, and for those who are not familiar with Juneteenth, let me just go into it and give you the history. Basically, at the end of this, not the Civil War, but when they were abolishing slavery, um, there were plenty of places throughout Texas and throughout it would have been Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, a lot of those areas down there, which continued to hold their slaves and refused to let them go. And what happened is it took literally for the military to actually go around to all of these places and tell these plantations, you have to let them go. If you do not, we will forcefully take them out of your hands. That is when slavery, besides the 13th Amendment, which is a whole nother topic, that's when it would be officially ended. So most black people throughout the South and Midwest specifically um, were very big on keeping up with Juneteenth and celebrating the holiday and tradition. And so I wanted to go into a little bit of that since it is the subject that of the day. I mean, they got it passed. Um, Now I guess we'll go into some of the other titles. This is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage, Car Ride Chats, second one. Um, Thank you for everybody who's joining and those who'll catch it later on. This is going to be something that's going to be regular. Monday through Friday, I'll do these little chats with you. I figure I can get into a couple of different topics without going very in depth, and I won't um, have to. It won't be pulling up a lot of stuff. It's just going to be me talking about some of the things that are online on what I've been thinking. Kind of like what the title of the show is, which most of the time I don't really tell everybody what I'm thinking. So at least now this segment will help the show stay true to its name. Um, I guess I want to start with Biden. I mean, I know you see the main one there, which I'm pretty sure is going to get some attention, either good or bad. It doesn't really matter. I'll just give my opinion and my takes on it, and everybody's entitled to have their own. Those who listen to me on a regular know how I am. I'm all about freedom of speech and freedom of opinion. We don't always have to agree, but as long as we can present why we feel that way and try to not have a negative or hateful feeling or treatment of others, it's fine for us to disagree. I guess I wanted to go into the Biden coverage. Um, the reason why media has been tanking so badly is because finally, 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 people are actually starting to see, you know, how slanted the media is, um, depending on which politician's in power. We take it back a handful of years to Obama. Obama got mostly flowery coverage throughout most of the so-called center left media, and he got atrocious coverage on Fox. Well, as soon as Trump took the office, you saw an instant flip. You saw all of a sudden Fox is nothing but positive. I don't. I honestly don't think I remember one segment of Fox where they ever were negative. They might have slightly disagreed on a couple of things, but they've never really the negative or against Trump. It's actually, it almost seems like they try to find a way to make sure that they can, square it up and make it look good for Trump. So um, now we have that in mind. We saw what happened with Obama. We saw what happened with Trump. And as soon as Biden went into power, this is where it's actually really starting to show itself. Obama was good enough at doing certain things in the media that can be a distraction from some of his more atrocious things which he was doing. Well, Joe Biden doesn't have that he doesn't have that magic at all. In fact, you know, with his, I don't even know how to call it. I mean, degraded state that he's in, the degraded state that Biden has been in, you spend more time feeling sorry for him than anything. It's like, why would you drag this? I mean, basically, he's like the Walking Dead. Why would you bring this Walking Dead, decrepit old man out and force him to try to be president? I mean, because any of you all who think that he was doing this on his own will don't understand how politics really works. This wasn't all the nonsense which they come out when they say ignore it. It's all nonsense. There's a lot bigger games that are going on behind the scenes, and somebody picked him and decided you need to be in there. You need to be one of our possibilities, just in case things don't go the way we wanted to go. Just in case, you know, Bernie actually does pull it out, which they had, they had their hooks into Bernie also. So, we, many, and me included, I was duped also into thinking that yes, he was really trying to fight. Wasn't trying to fight, because if he was trying to fight, there would have been so many more bombs that would have been dropped on Joe Biden's head with how horrible his record was, especially when they got down to that one-on-one debate. Because it's one-on-one, it's live. He could have said and dropped so much information before the media could have really chopped it to pieces. And they allowed for that to basically happen, especially with him not doing a second one. And we knew he wasn't going to. We knew Joe Biden was not going to do a second debate. He didn't want to do the first debate, and he was trying to put all these conditions on how the first one was going to go. Anyway, that should have been a dead sign to anybody. This man does not want to debate. Anytime you don't want to debate, it's because you normally are the weaker party. And the fact that Bernie did not step on the gas and smash him, to me, shows complicity. It shows that you're part of this, because I could have destroyed Biden on my own, off the top of my head, without any research practicing. Any Biden supporter out there who would like to have this battle and defend Biden, anytime you'd like to have this debate, please let me know. I take on all challengers. It does not matter. But anyway, back onto that. The difference in coverage, and this is the same thing what they did with Obama. They focused on his personality. It was mostly personality, personality, personality. Ignore the policy. Now, what they did with Trump is all the coverage became about Trump's negative personality, only negative personality. Anytime where he did something which was close to even halfway decent, it had to be buried or destroyed. Just like when Obama or Biden does something halfway decent, I mean, or when they do something that's not that great, it has to be buried and covered up also. Um, and that's just kind of the media that we have at this point in time. Speaking of shitty media, let's go on ahead and talk about TYT just a little bit. I want to talk about TYT because they were one of the, I guess, independent early on, independent outlets that I felt was really taking, politicians in the mainstream to task. And what I started to notice is over time, and I won't make it like I've noticed it from the start. When they were doing a lot of their when it was going against the Iraq War, when it was a lot of those pushbacks, because it was something that was personal to me and because they lined up, I didn't notice how many other things where they weren't really that sharp on. And I didn't know if that came from just a lack of knowledge, that they didn't know certain things about some of these topics that they were starting to report when it came to foreign policy, or if they were, intentionally screwing up the message or whatever. But I enjoyed what they were doing domestically for the most part. Well, I felt like where they where they put their foot in their mouth, or where they completely exposed themselves, maybe unintentionally, or I don't know. I mean, sometimes these things just happen, and that's just how it goes. But with the Justice Democrats, it's when they expose themselves. Getting AOC in those first couple in there, you have an excuse. You can say, you know what, we don't really have the numbers to push for this, and if any of them really reach too hard, you know, the the establishment will crack back, get rid of them, crack down on them, all these things like that, and that makes sense. I understand that argument. But then as the numbers started to increase, and it started to be in the House and in the Senate, we would see that the same amount of stuff that was getting done before is the same amount that is getting accomplished right now, which is zilch, zero, nada, nothing. That's the problem that we're having. And it's not changing. And I don't care if you get another 20 Justice Democrats in there. Nothing's changing, because if you look at especially how some of these votes have been going, there are votes which they could have stopped. I mean, bills, there are certain legislation that they've had the ability to stop. And they have selectively, some vote for the bill, changing their first positions. Some will vote present to cowardly duck out of it. And the irony of the present thing, because AOC really, really took Tulsi Gabbard to task about voting present when it came to impeachment, which the impeachment, it's stupid, it's dumb. It doesn't matter if she voted for it or not. She wasn't going to be in anybody's good graces, no matter how she sided. So, you know, every middle finger you have to AOC on that. And then she turns around now on a bill which she could stop, you know, something that would actually affect millions of us directly, not some. Because the thing about it is, even if Trump did get impeached and yanked out of office, what has been the damn difference on the border issue, um, and on basically immigration as a whole? They have been the same as the Trump administration. Actually, I'd say they've been the same as the Obama administration, because they've done a lot of flowery words, but the behavior has been just exactly the same. And if you go into, I'm trying to remember which nation it was, Haitians. I believe that Biden has deported more Haitians in his short amount of time than Trump did the whole 4 years he was in office. So if you're a Haitian person, you should probably be more scared of Biden than Trump, because Biden is, just look what he's doing. And then you look at, he's echoing another Trump policy about not giving disability payments out to senior citizen and the disabled in Puerto Rico. He doesn't care about that. Neither did Trump, because he doesn't care about those people, because they don't see those people as Americans. They don't care. And to me, it's just another old white man, another racist old white man, only trying to deal with things which are within his parameters or community. Like like I was having a conversation, older gentleman, and he's trying to tell me, oh well, this is getting better, and now's the time to buy this, and I'm like, that sounds fine and dandy, but what about the people who are beneath that threshold? What about the people who they're not going to have $1,000 or 2,000? Well, actually, let's say more. Let's say They're not going to have $5,000 to be able to go and invest on the stock market on some great tip. Things are not the way that they used to be. And the way that they're not the same is they're getting worse. Studies prove it that even the millennials that are doing better than their peers, they're still doing worse off than their parents did. Um, you we can't have those kind of scenarios going on and then people still try to tell me, oh no, but in another 10 years, another 20. Well, he actually, the guy, he even went to the point of saying, oh well, another 25 years. And I'm like, so you're telling me I need to wait till I'm 65 for things to get better for me? Is that the society that we're living in? That, yeah, 65 is when we should actually start looking for it. Hey, now it's our time. Right at the point when most of us are getting close to being damn near dead. That's when they say, oh yeah, you're gonna have so many opportunities then. And they've been telling us about all this opportunity most of my life, which I have not seen materialize. Uh, but that's that kind of nonsense. I got kind of a little off track. I guess I'll have to get used to this when I'm driving and I don't actually have my notes or anything to look down at. I'm just going right off the top of my head what I've been thinking about. And back so off that subject, back onto the whole TYT thing, which I was talking about. TYT, when it started becoming the Russiagate stuff, and with the Syrian gas attacks, how they're still pushing that narrative when it has been debunked so many times over and over and over. And what I started to realize is, I mean, and for those who don't know, they do take money. They've taken money from, I believe, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's a big time Clinton donor. So if that makes you feel comfortable that they do business with Clinton people, then okay. But for me, I feel like that should be even more cause to stay away from them. But on top of the fact that they take Clinton cash, issues, you have to ask the question: is it the money that makes them wrong, or are they just wrong? And I've waffled about this for a while, and I realize I think it's just that they're that bad. There's information when it comes to foreign policy. TYT does not know what the hell they're talking about on any subject, and part of it I feel is because they sit on their comfortable asses in their nice little studio. Um, and from what I hear, it's in a very nice part of town, Culver City. For those who aren't familiar, Culver City is out where a lot of the Hollywood executives and people like that like to hang out. So that's their stomping grounds. That's the community they're encircled in. Uh, so TYT and I'm so glad to watch their numbers benches ticking down, ticking down, ticking down. I look forward to the day when I look at them and they're getting 5,000 views a video. There's still way too many people who are giving them a lot of attention and respect. But don't worry, that'll start fading away more and more and more. I mean, another thing I forgot to bring this up. When they were going in and Anna was criticizing Aaron Mate. Well, she's criticizing him and saying, well, you you must work for these people or whatever, which is kind of asinine to make claims like that. No random independent journalist is literally working for any damn nation. That's stupid. But they like to do those things, throw that out there because they know a lot of their neoliberal friends are not going to really look into it and research it, and they're going to run with it. They're going to really start believing people are KGB, secret KGB agents, and are useful idiots, as a term. But all that said, the reason why Anna needs to go take several seats and never open her damn mouth is this woman literally had an interview with Madeleine Albright and talked to her like she was her hero. Anybody who gives respect to Madeleine Albright, anybody who wouldn't take that time to be in front of them and pepper her with every question you can, every harsh question you can, to put her out there and make her answer for some of the horrendous shit that she's done while she's been in power. Don't give me that. Oh well, we should honor her because she was a woman who rose to power. No, 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 no. If I go through history and literally tear apart white man after white man after white man, white women are getting it too. Nobody. If you screw up, you should be called out. If I screw up, call me out. And it's the same thing with any of these politicians. These politicians step up and decide they want to be a voice for us. They want to do this for us. Well, if you're going to take that wealth, if you're going to take the prestige, if you're going to take all of these perks and benefits that's traveling around the world, all these things they get to do, if you're going to take all that, then the last thing you're going to be is above reproach. If anything, you need to be under a microscope at every second because you literally handle millions of people's lives. You have millions of people's lives in your hand. And there needs to be some kind of a progress report on how well you're doing at completing objectives or not making things worse. And it seems like the one thing we've contracted out, because most people, if they have a house or things like that, they're going to contract out somebody to do that. And they're going to check the progress. How well are they doing? How many of my goals have they completed? Politicians are literally the only people that get away with never completing anything that they're say they're going to do. I mean, think about how long Republicans have been running on getting rid of abortion. Longer than I've been alive. Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, close to that. Let's say 40 years. All right, throw that out there. 40, 50 years, whatever. They've been fighting on this thing for all this time, and it's still here. The same thing with, the same thing with the Democrats. The Democrats always talk about Medicare. We're going to give Medicare for all. If you go all the way back to Kennedy was talking about Medicare for all. I mean, Nixon was talking about this. This wasn't a right wing or a left wing thing back then. But as those crooked corporate Democrats start filling up the Democratic Party, that's when we started having these problems. It started getting harder and harder and harder to get any kind of movement on damn near anything. And that has led to, like for instance, with this pandemic, now all of a sudden, you run into the situation, well, if people would have had Medicare, this wouldn't be an issue. We would be able to handle it like a lot of the other countries are handling it. And they're not having the problems we're having because of having some kind of a socialized system. Whether it's like Medicare, whether it's like the way the Germans do it, or the Australians, or the Japanese, whoever, whichever model it is, a single payer, multi-payer, whatever. They have systems that are working that benefit the people. Now, America has made it. I don't know how this is even accepted that our government is not supposed to do anything for the people. That's insane. The whole idea of no, they just need to worry about national defense and the skeletal framework of the government. That's the reason why things are in the situation they are. And that mentality is going to get, and I say this because I believe this is a possibility. I do not say this because I am advocating for this. I want to put that disclaimer. I am not advocating for this. But there's going to be more situations like Steve Scalise. There's going to be more situations like Gabby Gifford. There's going to be more situations like Ronald Reagan. And it might escalate to the point of situations like JFK or Abe Lincoln. If these politicians have to start doing their job. And you all have to stop letting them off the hook. If you're out there voting for somebody and you're trying to hold them to standards, oh, okay, whatever. But my advice to most of you, because it really doesn't matter who you vote for, they're still going to do whatever the hell they want to do. Stop voting. That's what I suggest. Stop voting. Don't vote at all. Make them have to explain why their numbers are so low. Make them have to come and get your vote. Um, I'm trying to remember what was his name? The Bob Report. Bob Report used to be like, I'm not a slut voter. Many of y'all are out there are being slut voters and y'all need to stop. Y'all giving it up and get nothing in return. This needs to be a business contract. You need to get something back. I see we got VC, my buddy VCR in the house. I'm doing good. Glad to see you there. Um, and I guess I will go into this last topic. Last topic. This comes from uh, this comes from Twitter. On my Twitter, on my Hebrew apologetics page, it says, and people know it's Hebrew apologetics. It's talking religion. It's talking faith. Um, and like I've said before, I don't try to push anybody to believe what I believe. If you want to ask me and get my understanding and my perception of things, then I have no problem telling you. And I just want to put this disclaimer. My last show, which I was on, I was what was it called? The Annihilation Cage with Niall Elcom. Niall Elcom is part of the LGBTQ community. If I had such a problem against the LGBTQ community, why would I have been doing a show with somebody from that community? This has nothing to do with an attack on that community, because I've had some people try to frame it that way. I look at it as more of an attack on my community. Most of these people who are coming to this God is trans and God is a woman and all this other stuff, if you're talking about Vishnu or some other gods, then fine. But when you start talking about the God of the Bible, it's pretty clear. And don't say, oh well, it could have been the man. No, I've read it all the way from the Dead Sea Scrolls. I've read it in the Masoretic. I've read it in multiple texts, Septuagint, all of that. You would have had, they would have had to completely. You at that point, you just have to say you don't believe in the Bible, because you would have to say all the thousands of entries where everything is male, 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 and when it's talking about a female, it denotes wife, daughter, those things which are feminine. It talks about she. Even when it talks about the Holy Ghost, it calls the Holy Ghost, that spirit, of feminine energy. So the Bible is not saying, oh no, we're just going to make everything all male and screw the females. That's not what's going on here. This is people who are because of, we live in this male patriarch, or let's clarify, white male patriarch society. Because we live in that, there's this kind of push against men in general. People, please leave the Bible alone when you're doing all that stuff, because the Bible really doesn't want nothing to do with none of this mess that y'all are talking about any damn way. What a lot of people don't get is the Bible is a very nationalistic book. If you don't believe that you are from Israel, I'm sorry to say it, the Bible's not even to you, really. It's really talking to the people who are either, I'll just say, the people who believe that they are. Now, the world knows a group of people to be in there. So according to them, for them to follow it and look at it in those respects, I don't begrudge them. Um, and for other people who believe that they're from there, whoever believes they're from there, that's who this book is talking about. And that's where you have to go back to the customs. So if you don't understand Hebraic customs and cultures, then don't try to take Americanized Greek cultures and try to shoehorn them into what you feel the Hebrews should be doing. If you wanna follow those people, then read what it says in the Bible and follow that. Or what it actually says is you're supposed to find the Jew and learn from the Jew. Now, that can go. I'll leave that part alone for now, but there's no inference where it ever refers to the creator in the Bible as female ever. And people say, well, what about the part where it says it's made in his image? And so what? You think that God literally came down like 1,000 different shades and nationalities and hair colors and all that at the same time? Is that what we really believe now? I mean, that's insane. That doesn't make any damn sense, and it proves that people don't read. It's not hard. I mean, Bibles are cheap. Bibles are cheap. It's not hard to go and get one and read it. Now, if you don't like what it's saying there, and you don't like the message, or you don't like that it's more male dominated and all that, that's okay. Cool, cool. I, I will respect whatever you feel like believing in, but don't start trying to twist this. It's funny you say that, Josh. But that's my take on that. If people have their faiths and their beliefs, I don't go and tell a trans person you can't be trans. I don't go tell a gay person you can't be gay. You can't think this way. I don't. So don't come into what we believe and tell us that we're wrong in our understanding and our belief, especially if you've never read it. Um, the reason why I don't believe the Bible is a bunch of baloney is because of prophecy. Most people don't read the whole Bible, so plus the Bible is not an easy read. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be coded. Um, there's too many prophetic things that were written far, far before they came about for me to ever take the mindset that the Bible is baloney. I mean, it literally predicted King Cyrus before he was born and his rise. It predicted Alexander the Great and his rise. It predicted all the places that he would take. It predicted that his leaders would break apart into four different kingdoms. It predicted four different leaders. It predicted the Roman Empire. It predicted a lot. So no, no, no. I don't take it as disrespect, Josh. I don't take it as disrespect at all. I'm not as thin skinned as a lot of people. I just feel like there's far too many things which I can prove for me to take it as baloney. For instance, people say, "Oh, well, can you prove the flood?" Well, yes, I can prove. I can prove evidence for a worldwide flood. That's provable. Can I prove Sodom and Gomorrah? Yes, I could prove Sodom and Gomorrah. Can I prove even the Exodus when they're talking about that he split the waters? I could even prove that. I could prove when they talk about the that he turned the waters in Egypt into blood and how that happened. Now it wasn't blood, but it did look that way. I mean, most of the stuff which I realize is a lot of these things do have scientific explanations because how I understand it is the creator is very practical. He uses practicality, he uses science, he uses math. It's man that makes everything all spooky and supernatural and all this extra shit. They're the ones to start believing in like, oh well, Nimrod and sun gods and all this other crazy shit and whatever. So it says who led them from Egypt, by the way. That would be Moses. Moses definitely led them, not Joshua. Joshua was the one who actually led them into the land. Joshua and Caleb led them into the land, but it was Moses who led them from Egypt. And the 40 years in the wilderness and all that stuff. Well, for instance, like in Israel right now, they have what they call Mount Sinai. I think it's hilarious that they think it's Mount Sinai, but anyway, the actual real, Mount Sinai is called Mount Ararat. Uh, and that one's closer. I mean, it's a little bit further away. And I'm gonna do a video on my other channel going into that. And that's and Josh, I appreciate people to throw those little questions or comments out there, and then I try to address them the best I can. On my Hebrew apologetics page, my goal is explaining stuff in biblical stuff and trying to break it down as simple as I can so that is palatable and makes sense. Um, People who believe in evolution to a degree. I do believe in that also to a degree because I believe that that was part of how creation was done. Just because you have evolution doesn't mean that it couldn't have came from the creator sparking everything to go that way. And then I also believe, like, for instance, like how the church literally believes that one day is one damn day when it's talking about, in the Bible. So it's not, it's a lot of things people have to understand. So, you know, that's it's a lot to go into, which we'll get into it on my other channel. But I enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah, I want to talk to you about a couple of things too. So, gotta go, Assange Vigil. Yes, make sure to give them a shout out over there, Josh. Make sure to send my regards. I guess that is about it for my topic. I have just finished my ride and I am parking the car now. Um, this has been the political, not political matrix. I'm about to mess myself up. Sorry. This is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage. Car ride chats, second one in the book. I'll see you all tomorrow, and look for me in the discords. Those of you who are on Discord, I'll chop it up with you later, Josh. It was a pleasure having you here. Pleasure having VCR, Lizzie Bones. I'll see you in a minute too, Liz. Uh, uh, Quaker Socialist. Hello. I want to make sure to give a shout out to you in there that you joined us. Thank you for joining us, by the way. And you all have a great evening.